I'm going to share my exact list of brokers that I use for my CPF, my cash, and my SRS. Now, I use different brokerages and trading platforms because of their own unique selling points, and each one is good in their own way. And I want to be very honest in this video, so this episode is not sponsored. It's just that if you want to use the same brokers that I am currently using, you can use my links in the description to sign up for any of them, and it will be a great support to the channel. Thank you. And if you are new here, my name is Chris, an ex-chartered accountant, now a personal finance YouTuber, and I talk about all things personal finance and investing. So you can join us in our close to 23,000 members Telegram group at Honey Money SG right here. Now let's start with CPF. Which platform do I use to trade for my CPF and especially the ordinary account? Because you do know that the sums above your OA of 20k can be used to invest, correct? So initially, when I started my CPF OA investment journey, I chose this platform called Endowus, which is a digital advisor that allows you to invest your cash, your CPF, or your SRS. And let me be clear that Endowus has a very user-friendly platform. It's very suitable for beginners. They have very nice performance metrics, like you can look at all these return performance and modified diets of return, time weighted return, all these things very nice and good for beginners to learn up and pick up their investing skills and data. And for the most recent record, I was buying the Amundi unit trust using Endowus because they are very low cost unit trust that either tracks the US large and mid cap index or the MSCI World Index, which is very suitable for a large scale index fund diversification. And not only Amundi unit trusts are low cost, but they also have no trailer fees. So there's no need to rebate any trailer fees. Now keep this in mind because we will discuss more on this later. But the sad thing about Endowus is that they do charge a 0.3% per annum management fee. Okay, so this is regardless of what product you choose, as long as you choose within the FundSmart portfolio, which means you curate your own portfolio of products using FundSmart and it's a single fund, you will be charged 0.3% per annum. This is on top of the expense ratio of the fund itself. So in 2025, I made a major decision to exit my Endowus position and sold all my unit trusts within Endowus and move over to my second platform, which is Poems by Phillip Capital. And to be exact, is Poems Cash Plus. So for those of you who are experienced enough, you will know that Poems by Phillip Capital is one of the longest standing traditional brokers, more than 50 years of history in Singapore alone. And they recently also introduced a monthly unit trust within the Poems platform, which you could use your cash, CPF or SRS to invest in a monthly unit trust as well. So that will include the Amundi funds like the Prime USA, the Index World, MSCI, as well as the emerging markets. So it is very diversified depending on what product you prefer. And the truth is that the unit trust offered within Poems is exactly the same product as what is offered in Endowus. But the difference is there is no sales charge, there's no platform fee within Poems. So they do not charge the 0.3% per annum management fee as charged by Endowus. And I know that some of you will debate that Endowus rebates the trailer fees. But remember what I said earlier, a monthly unit trust has zero trailer fees, so there's nothing to rebate. So it makes sense for you to use Poems to go and invest in all these Amundi unit trusts. But let's be very honest here, the Poems platform, either on the mobile app or the desktop version, it's not as intuitive, it's not as user-friendly as what you have in Endowus, right? Poems is just a simple buy and sell order. You don't have like all these performance metrics like what Endowus have. So it is slightly harder to pick up as a beginner. But remember what I always say, cost savings is guaranteed. Profit is not guaranteed. So if you can save 0.3% per annum guaranteed every year, would you want to switch to a lower cost platform compared to someone who is charging extra? I think some people would not mind the platform being less intuitive, but some people just prefer to pay for that convenience and nicer platform, nicer metrics to look at. There is no right and wrong here. Just need to choose the one that you go with. But let me remind you that as your portfolio size grows larger, your assets under management grows larger, right? The 0.3% per annum management fee will also grow larger, right? Because it also compounds. So that is something you need to take in mind when you want to choose between Endowus versus Poems for your CPF trades. Next up on SRS, I'm currently using Poems to invest in a monthly unit trust for the same reason as CPF. Previously, it used to be Endowus, but I shifted over to Poems for cash savings. But one very important thing that I want to remind you for SRS is that even if you don't intend to invest any of your SRS funds or contribute to SRS, I want all of you to at least open the SRS account first. It is free. Why? Because by 1st of July this year, 2026, the statutory retirement age is going to be raised to 64 years old. So next time, if you intend to do any SRS contribution, at least you can lock in the current retirement age of 63. for the 50% tax concession withdrawal. Okay, once you pass 1st of July 2024, then you open the account, then sorry, you are no more 63 years old, then you can withdraw. You need to wait until 64, then you can get a 50% tax concession withdrawal. So at least just contribute $1, open an account with either DBS, OCBC, or UOB. Okay, just choose one that you like, doesn't matter. Just contribute $1 first. Open the account first. So that's my public service announcement reminder. And I want to move on to another platform that I use this year for my SRS trades, and that will be StashAway ETF Explorer. Now, ETF Explorer is rather new. They just launched it last year in 2025. So ETF Explorer actually offers the same kind of products that you can get for your cash trades. Like you see all these ETFs, QQQ, gold, silver, okay? All these are very common ETFs that you can buy in the broad market. What makes it unique is that you can actually use SRS to fund your StashAway ETF Explorer, and that is the unique selling point. Why do I say that? Remember that when you choose to invest your SRS funds, it is very limited to a selected number of funds and a selected market region, which means that they are mostly Singapore-based, Singapore-listed. But in order for you to go like global exposure, like you want to invest outside of the Singapore market, what is a good option for you to invest outside of Singapore? That will be StashAway ETF Explorer. Because remember, you can now access all these global market ETFs and even some of these sectors like gold or semiconductors using SRS, right? So in the past, your SRS can only buy like Singapore stocks and ETFs, and maybe at best all these global unit trusts from Amundi. But now you can buy QQQ. Right, I'm not telling you to go buy. I'm just saying you can now use SRS to buy QQQ, which is a Nasdaq 100 ETF, and not just US domiciled ETFs. Because if we talk about tax advantage ETFs, we must remember UCITS funds, right? Those listed in Ireland domiciled and listed in LSE. That will be like the global equities portfolio. They have ISAC. Okay, and recently they also released CSPX, which is the S&P 500 UCITS ETF listed in London Stock Exchange, which is all tax advantage as well. So now we can then make the comparison. Is a UCITS ETF S&P 500 more tax advantages versus the Amundi Prime USA fund? There will be another video. But today we focus on what platform, and that is StashAway ETF Explorer, which you should check it out. And currently I have around $20,000 invested in StashAway ETF Explorer, so I do really have skin in the game. Just that my existing SRS portfolio in Poems is still intact. I did not sell any positions as of now. So just to recap on Poems SRS before I forget, you can also use Poems Cash Plus funded by SRS to buy Singapore stocks because they offer zero minimum commission and the rate is only 0.08%. I believe it's one of the cheapest one out there for SRS because you don't have a minimum $25 commission like other traditional bank brokers. So I think if you just want to buy Singapore stocks, like you want to buy banks, you want to buy the top 30 stocks, the STI, something like this, you can go and select Poems Cash Plus, not an issue, right? You can go and pick your own stocks. Likewise, the same for CPF OA. If you want to use your CPF OA to buy Singapore listed stocks and ETFs. So Poems Cash Plus will be the correct product for the platform of choice. Now, coming back to StashAway, I want to talk about their new feature, which is the regular investing advantage. So it's basically an add-on, a free add-on or upgrade. In short form, we call this RIA, regular investing advantage. So how it works is that if you invest in the ETF Explorer this month, okay, and you have the valid trade, this portfolio, next month, if you invest in the same portfolio through ETF Explorer, your trades will be free. Because remember, StashAway ETF Explorer charges $1 for trading fee, $1 per order, which is not much. But if you can save cost, it's pretty good, right? So next month, you continue to dollar cost average or RSP into the same portfolio, it will be fee-free, free of commission, right? So it encourages you to dollar cost average and do a regular investing into this portfolio. And if you're wondering whether this is valid for SRS also, the good news is yes, it's valid for SRS. So you can actually dollar cost average your SRS positions as well, as long as you invest within the same portfolio. But if you invest in another portfolio, then that's another matter lah. But let me be very transparent and upfront. How does StashAway earn money from this? Because you need to look at the FX spread. Right? If you look at the FX spread published by StashAway official website, they do charge a 0.32% FX spread. So at least they are transparent about how much FX spread they are charging, because that is the margin that they will earn when you convert your SGD to USD, right? When you convert to foreign currency, there's always a little bit of FX spread, and I think 0.3% is around the market rate. So I would say StashAway ETF Explorer is pretty good for SRS investing. But if you want to use it for cash investing, I think there are other better options lah, right? Because the FX spread is not so favorable. So now we move to cash investing, what platforms do I use personally? And this is none other than Interactive Brokers or IBKR. Now, why I use IBKR is mainly because of my US domiciled stocks, individual stocks, plus the UK London Stock Exchange listed UCITS ETF, right? These have major advantages. For example, if you want to invest in a UCITS ETF like SPYL, CSPX, or VWRA, all these that have 15% withholding tax instead of 30% dividend withholding tax, you have to go through a broker that offers London Stock Exchange. Now, there are several other brokers that offers London Stock Exchange, but I choose Interactive Brokers because number one, it has very low cost, and number two, it has a very low FX spread. So how low is low cost, right? If you look at the pricing, just for US trades alone in USD, it will be from 35 cents. And then if we look at for the UK trades in USD, which is to buy your UCITS ETF, it will start from $1.70 US. Also, I mentioned that IBKR has the most competitive FX spread, correct? So remember, StashAway ETF Explorer is around 0.32% when you convert SGD to USD. I think for IBKR, it's probably around 0.01%, which is almost like nothing. It's almost the spot rate already. It's really one of the best out there, which is why for my main portfolio for US and my UCITS ETF positions, I use IBKR. I know it's a little bit difficult to use, but don't worry, once you get past the initial stage, the beginner stage, very sure you just look at the buy and sell order. You don't need to look at other things. And you know, if you want to support this channel, you can also click on my Interactive Brokers thing here. You don't have to sign up. Even if you have an account already, you just need to help me click. Or you just scan this QR code somewhere here, okay? You will pay a small commission and that will show some appreciation for my content. So thank you to those who have clicked or scanned. And we move on. What do I use for my Singapore stock trades? And this is rather new, and that is IG Markets. Okay, be very clear, it's IG Markets. Why IG Markets is because they offer zero commission on SG stocks. Now you heard that right, zero commission. But how about the regulatory fees? And you will be surprised because they don't even charge the regulatory fees. I think they absorb it somehow or another because I have placed my trades on the SCI ETF. There is really zero fees charged, not even regulatory fees. I'm not even talking about commission or platform fees. So it is like you can really place small orders at zero cost, and that's very effective for dollar cost averaging. And usually SG Market, they have all these small little hidden costs like regulatory fees, SGX fees, GST, whatever. IG Markets do not charge you any of them. Maybe they absorb it, I don't know. But the other thing about IG Markets is that they also offer 3% guaranteed interest on your first 50,000 Singapore dollars of shareholdings. And that means if you buy $50,000 worth of SG listed stocks or ETF, they will pay you 3% per annum, right? So it's like giving you additional boosted return. Like if your STI ETF earns you 3% per year, then you get a guaranteed interest of 3% per year. Your total return is 6% per year, you know. Guaranteed additional 3% interest. Do you want to take or not? That is like almost free money. But of course, that is just a promotion that will end sooner or later. So if you want to take advantage of it, I would strongly encourage you just get an IG Markets account if you want to try out Singapore stocks investing. So I am also slowly building up my Singapore stocks exposure after learning that we also need to build local stock exposure as a boggle-head portfolio, right? Cannot everything outside of Singapore, right? Just have a small little Singapore stocks exposure. After all the currency fluctuation, I think it's best to keep at least a stable local port. So I'm still building this small local portfolio step by step, right? But I know that for some of you, you all don't trust all these custodian small brokers. You all like to put your Singapore stocks in CDP. So how? I also have a solution for CDP, and that is for Moomoo Singapore CDP trades. Now, Moomoo CDP started in 2025 last year, and it is one of the most competitive trading platforms that you can do CDP trades. How much are we talking about? Commission will be 0.1%, minimum $4.99. Platform fees will be 0.12%, minimum $4.99. So your total commission plus platform fees will be $9.98 SGD, which is rather competitive, right? You look at all these traditional brokers charging you minimum 25 Singapore dollars at Moomoo SG CDP trades is only charging you $9.98. That's like a very big discount. And all your positions will go into the CDP. It is not going into your Moomoo custodian account. It's going to be placed in your CDP. So for those of you who want peace of mind, CDP, whatever, right? I think if you want to trade CDP, Moomoo is one of the best choice. But let me be very clear, if you sign up via my Moomoo link and you deposit to trade in CDP, trying to get the welcome rewards, it will not work because their welcome rewards only work for their custodian broker. So you need to trade the stocks in the custodian discount broker, right? So this will apply to any other platforms. Like for example, Longbridge has the interest boost promo, which I don't know when it will last until. So it's good for those of you who just want to park some cash in the money market funds. Likewise, for USmart, they also have an 8.88% per annum money market fund promotion. All these brokers are luring you in with all these welcome rewards for you to try out the platform, right? So you get some guaranteed return, which is part of their promotion marketing budget, and then you test it out, see which platform works out best for you. Okay, I think it is important that you get the account first. It is free anyway. You just go and try which platform you get. Okay, it's not like it will cost you any money to sign up for any of the platforms. Instead, the platform is giving you money. So I'm just sharing what platforms I use for each particular trade. And in summary, I'll recap again. For CPF, I'm currently using Poems Cash Plus. For SRS, I was using Poems Cash Plus, and now I added StashAway ETF Explorer on top of it. For cash trades, US and UK side, I'm using Interactive Brokers. For Singapore stocks, I'm currently using IG Markets. Okay, but for Singapore CDP trades, I would strongly recommend Moomoo SG CDP, right? So if you want to sign up for any of these platforms, you can refer to my description or some of the comment. Okay, go and sign up, qualify for the welcome rewards first. And I know that many of you already signed up for these platforms through my link already, so thank you. But if you just want to show appreciation, a click on the IBKR link will do. And I'm very sure when you want to start investing, you will have this question, whether to dollar cost average, whether to lump sum, or to crash buy, right? Which I'm very sure you will have this question. So you can check out my video on these 3 strategies, which one is the best in my opinion, in this video right here.